Morning light
Okay.
on a quiet floor.
Welcome to
Hello.
Coffee
Welcome to our
cream
homestead.
indoors.
I'm going to Urban Homestead.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome back to Homegrown Urban Homestead. I'm Andrew. This is Anna.
Same small beat inside the heart.
They're called birds eye chilies.
Miss a call. I tie my shoes. The world keeps moving. So do you. There are 8 billion ever breathing.
So today we're going to talk about the impending economic shock that is due to arise from the Iran war. Yes, it is a war, despite what certain administrations don't want to call it. It is a war. And it's having a massive impact on a lot of things already, from the price of groceries, the price of fuel being the obvious one. It's soon to have an impact on our farmers, if it's not already, from a fuel perspective, but also from a fertilizer amendment perspective. A lot of farmers around the world are looking at what they should be putting in the ground now, what they should be sowing. There's a lot of uncertainty with whether they'll have the appropriate fertilizer to support their growing. There's a lot of talk for regenerative farming and other methods of farming that aren't so heavily reliant on outsourced fertilizer, but the scale for commercial farming, that's not always viable, or at least possible in the early stages until you've had years to plan and sort of put those sort of methods in place, not suddenly like right now. The likelihood of shortages of fertilizer for our farmers, not just here in Australia but globally, is going to have an impact for food harvests later on. And there was already quite a lot of food insecurity for a lot of countries around the world. So.
Yeah, and I mean we were already under a cost of living crisis, and then the flow-on effects from what's happening in the world is just going to make that more and more amplified for middle class and lower income families. And looking at how we can best prepare ourselves for that, I think self-sufficiency has never been more
sexy.
I was going to say
alluring.
Important.
What she said.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not one of those things you can just snap your fingers and go, hey presto, el bueno, you're good to go with, as I say this.
I think we're going to have to move. It's raining.
It's raining.
For households whose food bills and fuel bills make up a large percentage of your income, you're going to be hit harder. So obviously middle and lower classes are going to feel the impacts of the war a lot more than people who are more well off.
But I think the Australian government, is focusing on the wrong thing, and we should actually be taxing the natural resource companies in Australia appropriately, much like Norway do, Qatar, or those other countries that actually tax the natural resources companies that drill, extract, etc. The Australian politicians haven't quite cottoned on to the fact that...
I don't know if they haven't cottoned on to it, but I think they're incentivized not to do that.
They're heavily leveraged. And our two major political parties are heavily leveraged by the oil and gas companies, or the natural resource companies, to not make certain subsidies or not make certain levies or taxes. And our status quo right now is they're trying to find other ways to tax either our super, our investment properties, whatever, to try and make up that windfall, instead of actually taxing the vast resources that we have in the companies that are extracting them out of the ground or the ocean or whatever.
I guess it's just frustrating as people who our goals are to work in the best way that's protecting our environment, sustainable, living within our means, taking what we need from the earth. And then beyond that, there's a bigger picture of some people who hold a lot more power, and they're doing the complete opposite, which is take, without giving back, without setting up security for the future, because it's all about as much profit as you can gain right now. It just feels like you're working against the system in a lot of ways. And I wonder if some of you guys are feeling the same way, which is just a frustration and a sense of powerlessness at the situation when you've got people in power who are not necessarily representing us, and they're not making decisions that reflect what we are hoping for in terms of a future that we're leaving our children. But they're looking at take, greed, elements of hubris and
selfishness.
Yeah.
For a very long time, we've been a population of she'll be right.
She'll be right, but we also had faith in politicians and people making decisions that we were all working on the same team. And I think now we're seeing a lot more people becoming more aware that that's not necessarily the case. I know a lot of people already knew that, but en masse, people kind of had a little bit more faith in the system. But now we're realizing that it's not actually fair for everyday Australians.
I think a few things have happened over the past 6 years, COVID being one of them, and a few other things that just sort of laid into it. Like, okay, it's highlighted the fact that there is a tiered system within Australia, and also we've seen it in America and Europe as well, this tiered system of imposed division between a left and right, when really it should actually be up and down, really. The have and the have-nots. It's not left, right, center, wherever you are on the political spectrum. It should actually be the 1% versus everybody else who are just trying to get by.
When you can just break laws with impunity and, commit war crimes with no repercussions, you kind of get a picture of what it's actually like.
Yeah.
But not to be all doom and gloom. And look, we're very lucky to be living in a very safe part of the world physically. Financially, we're feeling the impacts. But physically, safety, we're not getting bombs dropped on us like there are in other parts of the world.
Yes.
And we're very thankful and lucky for that. Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in the world right now that is having reverberating impacts.
We would love to have some discussion around this in the comments. How are you tackling the challenges that you're facing in terms of food and fuel price increases? How are you approaching this going forward? Do you have safety nets in place? What are you doing to prepare yourselves?
Are you already feeling the impacts where you are, and what are you doing to prepare for what's to come over the next, say, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? Because there could be very long-reaching impacts due to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, as well as impacts to commercial shipping and
getting produce from farms to stores.
Everything from fertilizer to from ammonia to helium to crude to liquid gas. There's so many implications and so many different things that are going to be impacted by such a small waterway. And we haven't even potentially seen the other waterway coming from the Red Sea impacted yet as well. So if we see that constricted as well, that's going to have even further effects if the Houthis start doing things. Yeah.
Well, we are thankful that we've already started the self-sufficient journey. Yeah. If you're starting this journey, go ahead and watch some of our other videos to give you some ideas on what you can do as beginners, starting out, growing your own food, becoming more self-reliant. Maybe you want to get chickens. We think that's a really good approach. Go have a look at our videos and see what tips you can find.
Even if you're very short on time, say for example you have 3 kids or you work a lot or whatever, you can still make it work even if you're short on time. You just got to find your little wins here and there. Chickens are a good one, growing herbs. Just find your little bits at a time. You don't have to do it all at once, but little incremental wins.
Changes, and then over a year you might see some massive changes to the way that you're spending and saving and that sort of thing.
And thriving, hopefully. All right, well, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much
subscribe, tick the little bell button, and
see you in the comments.
Bye.